The Baltimore Ravens might have just made one of the most important announcements of their preseason, and it came straight from head coach John Harbaugh himself. After weeks of speculation, lineup rotations, and intense competition in the trenches, the Ravens' offensive line starters for Week 1 are all but locked in. And yeah, there are still a few moving pieces behind them, but the foundation, the core five, seems to be set. Now the real question is, are these the right five guys to protect Lamar Jackson and anchor the run game in a season where the stakes have never been higher? So let's dive into it. Harbaugh didn't hold back when asked if the current starting five we've seen in practices and preseason action are the ones we should expect to line up when the regular season kicks off. His answer was direct. Yes, absolutely. That's the line they're working with. That's the unit they're building chemistry around. And that's the group they're preparing to roll with. So what does that group look like? Well, at left tackle, you've got Ronnie Stanley, a veteran presence, no surprise there. At left guard, it's Andrew Voorhees, who's been climbing up the depth chart steadily and showing he belongs. Center is locked down by Tyler Linderbaum, one of the few no-brainer picks on this line. Then comes Daniel Falale at right guard, and finally, Roger Rosengarten rounding things out at right tackle. That's your five. And honestly, if you've been paying attention to camp, none of that should be shocking. Now, Harbaugh didn't just stop at naming the starters. He also acknowledged that beyond those five, there's a lot still up in the air. Who are the depth pieces? Who's going to be active on game day? Who ends up on the practice squad? And are they keeping 9 linemen? Or maybe 10? According to Harbaugh, they've got 10 guys who are absolutely worthy of a roster spot. And the challenge now is figuring out who makes the cut. So let's talk about that starting group. Because while some spots are locked down with total confidence, others, let's just say the fan base is holding its breath. Let's start with the obvious. Linderbaum, Stanley, and Rosengarten. Those three have looked the part. Linderbaum has been a rock since the day he walked into the building. Stanley, when healthy, is still one of the best left tackles in the game. And Rosengarten? That right tackle spot was his to lose the moment camp opened, and he's done everything needed to hold it down. No complaints there. Andrew Voorhees at left guard might have been the only real competition going into camp. But when you really look at it, he was the clear favorite from the jump. Ben Cleveland just hasn't been able to seize the moment, and honestly, it doesn't seem like Harbaugh is very high on him anyway. It always feels like Cleveland is fighting an uphill battle just to stay on this roster, let alone break into the starting lineup. So Voorhees gets the nod, and you know what? That's fine. He's shown flashes. He showed it last year before he lost his role to Patrick McCree, and he's shown it again this preseason. If he can stay healthy, there's reason to believe he can lock that spot down for good. But now we come to the big question mark, the one that's got Ravens fans pacing back and forth, and that's right guard Daniel Falale. Now look, Falale is a massive human being. He's a mountain. When he gets his hands on you, it's over. But it's everything that comes before that contact. The footwork, the recognition, the lateral movement. That's where the concerns come in. And if you watched that Colts game, you saw the struggles. The tape wasn't pretty. He looked slow. He looked lost. And defenders were getting into the backfield with ease. But against the Cowboys? Much better. Not perfect, but clearly improved. There were moments where he identified blitzes, peeled off his blocks, and picked up the right man. That's growth. That's progress. But the question still stands. Is it enough? Because here's the thing. Daniel Falale isn't a project anymore. He's the starter. And that comes with expectations. The Ravens' offense depends on pulling linemen, creating lanes, and reaching the second level with precision and timing. That's not exactly Falale's strong suit. At least not yet. And when he misses, he doesn't just miss by a little. He loses big. Explosive plays for the defense. Pressure on Lamar. Disruption in the backfield. That's the risk. That's the concern. And maybe what makes this whole thing even more nerve-wracking is the lack of a safety net. Because in years past, if someone like Falale wasn't cutting it, you'd just plug in Patrick McCree. Problem solved. But McCree's not here anymore. That reliable backup plan, gone. Now the backup is Ben Cleveland. And let's be honest, that doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. So it's not just about Falale performing well. It's about him staying healthy and available, because there's no one behind him who feels like a sure thing. And that brings us back to the big picture roster decisions. Harbaugh talked about keeping 9 or 10 linemen, and it makes sense. You've got your starters, sure, but depth is everything in this league. Injuries happen. Slumps happen. And the moment you lose one of your starters, the quality of your backups can determine whether your season stays on track or goes completely off the rails. So who's in the mix? Well, you've got Ben Cleveland, Joe Noteboom, Corey Bullock, Nick Samak, Garrett Dellinger, Darian Dalcourt, Carson Vincent. The list goes on. Some of these guys are probably headed to the practice squad, but a few of them will have to stick on the active roster. Based on the way Harbaugh talked, it sounds like Cleveland, Noteboom, Bullock, and Vincent might be leading the pack. That's already 9, including the starters. So if they keep a 10th, maybe that spot comes down to Dellinger or Samak. But either way, someone deserving is going to be left out. That's just the math of it. Now for me, I'd keep 10. Offensive line depth is just too important to gamble with. You've got to assume someone's going to miss time, whether it's an injury or just needing a breather. You can stash guys on the practice squad, sure. But if you've got 10 linemen who can play, why risk losing one? Because here's the reality. The Ravens have built a roster that's deep and talented. But offensive line depth has a way of getting tested, and when it does, you want to be prepared. You don't want to find yourself wishing you had kept that one extra lineman who could have stepped in and held the line. And to circle back to Falale, he's got the tools. He's got the size. He's got the raw power. But it's the consistency, the quickness, the awareness. That's what he has to keep developing. Because the moment he gets exposed, opposing defenses are going to key in on him. They're going to run stunts. They're going to send speed off his shoulder. They're going to test his lateral movement. And if he's not ready, it could be a problem. That's why this unit, this starting 5, has to build cohesion fast. They need reps together. They need rhythm. They need communication. Because talent only gets you so far. Chemistry is what keeps a pocket clean. And if this line can gel, if they can give Lamar time and space, this Ravens offense can be dangerous. But it all starts in the trenches. It always has. It always will. Training camp is supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to bring the best out of players, especially the young ones trying to carve out a spot. But every once in a while, a rookie comes in and completely flips expectations on their head. That's exactly what's happening with Mike Green. Because right now, this kid is not just competing, he's dominating. And it's not just hype. It's not just flash. It's every single day, every single rep, and he's not slowing down. I mean, seriously, we've been saying his name almost every day since camp started. And not because we're trying to force it, but because he keeps showing up in ways that matter. Tuesday's practice was just another chapter in what's becoming one of the most exciting training camp stories we've seen from a Ravens rookie in years. Whether he's rushing the passer, dropping into coverage, or flying around on special teams, Mike Green is making his presence felt. And not in a subtle way, in a loud, undeniable way. Let's just take one practice. Tuesday. 11-on-11 drills, right? Cooper Rush floats a pass into the flat. Green reads it, undercuts the route, and nearly takes it to the house. That's a pick six in a real game. That's a massive momentum swing. And for a rookie edge rusher to make that play in coverage, that's not normal. That's instincts. That's awareness. That's preparation. And then minutes later, he's back again with a sack. This dude is doing everything. He's making plays in every possible way. And it's not just in team drills. Go look at one-on-one pass rushing reps. Mike Green is giving veteran offensive linemen absolute nightmares. On Tuesday, he beat Joe Noteboom clean, showed bend, showed quickness, hit the edge, and was gone. That's exactly the type of trait that translates. You can coach technique. You can coach effort. But that type of natural burst? That's something you either have or you don't. And Mike Green has it in spades. What makes all this even more impressive is how well-rounded his game is. He's not just a pass rusher. He's showing growth in coverage. He's understanding run fits. He's playing smart football. You can tell he's been studying the playbook, listening to the coaching staff, and most importantly, putting it all together on the field. There are plenty of rookies who flash once or twice and then fade. That's not what's happening here. This is consistent. This is real. Now, obviously, he's not going to walk into week 1 as the guy taking every snap. That's not how the Ravens operate. Tavius Robinson and Odafe Owa are still expected to lead the way on the edge early on. But if Mike Green keeps performing like this, his role is only going to grow. Week by week, snap by snap, he's going to earn more time on the field. And honestly, if this trend continues, I'm going to go ahead and say it. He could end the year as the Ravens' best pass rusher. That's not an exaggeration. That's how high his ceiling looks right now. And the crazy part is, it's not just what he does when he's in the spotlight. It's everything in between. His motor is relentless. He's constantly chasing plays down from behind. He's setting edges. He's doing the dirty work that doesn't show up in the box score. And that, more than anything, is what coaches love. That's what earns you trust. Because when the game's on the line and the coaches are deciding who gets on the field, they want the guy they know will go 100 miles an hour on every single snap. And that's Mike Green to a T. He's not the only rookie making noise, either. Enter Anya's Peoples, another mid to late round pick that's starting to look like a potential steal. Peoples is a defensive lineman who's always had explosiveness, but the big knock on him coming out of college was his run defense. Could he anchor? Could he hold up on early downs? Could he be trusted in those gritty, physical situations where the trenches get nasty? Well, if you watched Tuesday's practice, you saw your answer. Peoples took on the first-team offensive line and held his ground. He wrapped up Justice Hill for a loss in the backfield, and even got a high five from Lamar Jackson for it. That's not something that happens if you're just having a decent day. That's a moment that turns heads. That's a moment that gets coaches saying, hey, maybe we've got something here. And what's exciting about Peoples is that he's fully embracing the challenge. He said himself that improving as a run defender was something he knew he needed to do. It was a point of emphasis coming into camp. And now, here we are, a few weeks in, and you can see the progress. Defensive line coach Dennis Johnson even went on record saying that Peoples is one of the most explosive defensive linemen he's ever coached or evaluated. That's high praise. That's not coach speak. That's a statement. Peoples still has work to do, no doubt. He's not going to be a three-down guy immediately. But that's okay. Every team needs a disruptive force on third downs. Someone who can pin their ears back and create chaos. And if he keeps improving his run defense, then he becomes a full package player. That's how depth gets built. That's how a team survives a long, physical season. Now, zooming out a bit, it wasn't just the rookies making headlines on Tuesday. Lamar Jackson and the first-team offense showed flashes of rhythm that fans have been waiting to see. Lamar connected with Mark Andrews on a couple of chunk plays, including a deep touchdown that capped off the day. Andrews is still his security blanket. That chemistry hasn't gone anywhere. It looks as strong as ever. There was also a big play to Rashad Bateman, a beautiful ball over Jay Higgins, who had solid coverage but just couldn't quite make the play. And then Bateman had another impressive moment on an end-around. Took it to the house. Andrews led the way with a key block. That's what you want to see. Your playmakers making plays and your stars doing the dirty work to make it happen. That's Ravens football. TJ Owie showed up strong as well. He had a one-on-one rep where he drove a backup offensive lineman several yards backward. It was a bully move. Pure power. And for a guy fighting for a roster spot, that kind of performance could be the difference. Every snap counts in these final days of camp, especially for players right on the bubble. Another guy who made a little noise was Rasheen Ali. He's been a bit under the radar, but on Tuesday, he had a really nice run, followed his blockers, made a sharp cut through traffic, and juked to safety to get into the end zone. Those are the types of plays that show vision, patience, and burst. The Ravens' backfield is already crowded, but you never know, one or two more plays like that, and Ali could be in the conversation. On the defensive side, Nate Wiggins made a solid tackle in the backfield, wrapping up Keaton Mitchell. It wasn't a highlight reel play, but it showed something important. Wiggins isn't afraid to get physical. He may be a little lighter than some corners, but he doesn't play small. He's not shying away from contact. He's willing to mix it up. And that's something coaches will absolutely take note of when deciding on roles and matchups. Now let's touch on special teams, because yeah, it matters. Tyler Loop, the kicker, went 6 for 8 on the day. Missed from 33 and 58 yards. Not perfect, but still solid. With Justin Tucker locked in as the starter, Loop's chances of making the final roster are slim. But practice squad? Definitely in play. Especially if the Ravens want insurance down the line. In terms of injuries, there were some notable returns. DeAndre Hopkins was back at practice after missing time with a knee issue. Jalen Armour-Davis was also back. But not everyone participated. Patrick Ricard, Kyle Van Noy, and a few others were sidelined. Most of these absences aren't long-term concerns, but at this point in camp, you want to start seeing guys return and build momentum heading into that final preseason game. So what does all this mean? It means the Ravens rookie class is making noise. Real noise. Not just one or two splash plays, but consistent, steady development. Mike Green looks like a future star. Anya's Peoples is making his case. Jay Higgins has shown range and awareness. Ruben Lowry keeps making impact plays. Bo Braid is right there in the mix. These aren't just bodies filling out the roster. These are potential contributors. And that's huge. Because for all the talk about the starters, and yeah, that's important, your depth is what defines your season. Your young guys. Your next man up. That's who wins you games in November and December when injuries start piling up. And right now, it feels like the Ravens have found some gems. Training camp isn't over. The preseason still has one more game. And we all know, final roster cuts are brutal. But if there's one thing that's becoming clear, it's that this rookie class might be one of the most impactful groups we've seen in Baltimore in a long time. And if that holds true when the real games begin, the Ravens might just have something special brewing. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The sports world woke up this week to a rumor that has been echoing from training camps to locker rooms across the league. Washington Commanders star wide receiver Terry McLaurin might be on his way to the Baltimore Ravens. While no official confirmation has been released, the whispers are persistent, and sources close to both organizations have hinted that discussions are at least taking place behind closed doors. McLaurin, widely regarded as one of the most reliable and consistent wideouts in the NFL, has been the face of the Commanders' passing game since he entered the league. His route running, leadership qualities, and ability to stretch the field have earned him respect not only from teammates, but from opponents who have repeatedly praised his work ethic. Now, the suggestion that McLaurin could join Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' offense has added fuel to a rumor mill that is running at full speed. Fans, insiders, and commentators are already imagining what the Ravens' passing attack would look like with McLaurin lined up alongside their current weapons, making the possibility of his arrival one of the most intriguing storylines of this offseason. The potential move has sparked countless debates on whether this would represent a seismic shift for both franchises involved. For Washington, losing a player of McLaurin's caliber would be more than just a blow to their offensive schemes. It would send a message about the direction of their roster building and long-term competitiveness. He has been a constant presence through coaching changes, quarterback uncertainties, and the roller coaster of seasons filled with ups and downs. Letting him go would be viewed by many fans as a sign of rebuilding, even if the team manages to secure valuable assets in return. For Baltimore, however, the rumor is being interpreted as an ambitious attempt to finally balance their offense with a true star receiver who can consistently demand double coverage. The Ravens have often been criticized for not giving Lamar Jackson an elite target who could elevate their passing game beyond efficiency into dominance. The idea that McLaurin could be the missing piece in Baltimore's puzzle has electrified their supporters, who are dreaming of a potent, versatile offense capable of challenging the league's best defenses on the biggest stages. What makes the rumor even more compelling is the timing. Both teams find themselves at crossroads, though in different ways. The Commanders are still working to stabilize their identity under new management and a coaching staff determined to change the culture. Their quarterback situation remains fluid, and while there is optimism about the future, the reality is that a player like McLaurin might feel the window for his prime years closing if the team cannot contend soon. Meanwhile, the Ravens have been vocal about their determination to maximize Lamar Jackson's prime. After signing him to a long-term deal, the front office has emphasized its commitment to surrounding him with talent. Adding McLaurin would not only signal that commitment, but also dramatically shift expectations heading into the new season. Even though the whispers have not been substantiated by concrete announcements, the very idea has shaken the balance of anticipation across the AFC and NFC landscapes. The clash of motivations, needs, and timing makes this rumored transaction far more than idle gossip. It feels like a potential turning point for both franchises. Of course, with every rumor comes skepticism, and not everyone is buying into the idea that McLaurin is actually on the verge of switching uniforms. Some insiders argue that the Commanders would never part with their most consistent offensive weapon unless faced with an absolutely irresistible package of draft picks or established players. Others believe the Ravens, who have historically leaned heavily on their run-first identity, may hesitate to commit the kind of resources necessary to pry away a star like McLaurin. Salary cap dynamics also complicate matters, as McLaurin's current deal would require careful maneuvering on Baltimore's part to fit him into their financial structure without jeopardizing other key contracts. Still, the counterarguments have done little to quiet the excitement. Fans scrolling through social media feeds see highlight reels of McLaurin torching defenders and imagine him doing the same in a Ravens jersey. Sports radio callers are already mapping out playoff scenarios where Jackson connects with McLaurin in crucial moments. Even doubters admit that the possibility, however slim, cannot be dismissed entirely, and that alone keeps the rumor alive in every conversation. In the end, whether Terry McLaurin actually dons the purple and black of Baltimore or remains the centerpiece of Washington's offensive hopes, the rumor itself has already achieved something powerful. It has ignited imaginations and sparked debates across the football world. It is the kind of story that speaks to the unpredictable drama of the NFL, where one player's movement can redefine the trajectory of two franchises and alter the competitive balance of an entire conference. For now, nothing is official, and McLaurin remains a Commander, but the murmurs continue to grow louder with each passing day. Perhaps it will fade as just another off-season whisper, or perhaps we are watching the first steps in a blockbuster shift that will be remembered for years to come. Either way, the possibility of McLaurin catching passes from Lamar Jackson is enough to fuel excitement, anxiety, and speculation, proving once again that in the NFL, even rumors have the power to shape narratives and capture the imagination of fans who live for the game's next big twist. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.